A good Thursday evening to each and every one of you that are tuning in. Of course, this is the Deep Dixie Racing Report coming to you live from the Rescue Smokehouse Grill right here on exit 75 off of Interstate 75. Pastor Todd Sharon, track announcer at Cochran Motor Speedway, your host alongside Brian Big Time Hester. We got downtown Dale Hall behind the camera back there. And guys, we've got a great show lined up for you. First and foremost, we want to thank our sponsors, Mr. Mike Hurd and the award-winning staff down at 5 Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins, Georgia. We appreciate their help and their support. They take good care of you before, during, and after the sale. Go check them out. That is 5 Star Hyundai of Warner Robins. Also, a good friend of mine and a very good friend to the racing community, Mr. Bill Cheek and the folks at Heartland EMS down in Cochran, Georgia. We appreciate their help. We've got a great show lined up for you tonight. We're going to do a little bit different than what we normally do. Of course, Brian and I are going to open things up, and we're going to recap a lot of exciting things that happened over the past week, all kinds of good stuff happening. Then we are going to be calling a driver that had a very scary crash a few weeks back at Albany Motor Speedway. Tyler Summerlin will be visiting us by phone. We had hoped to get Tyler here live, and we're going to be able to talk to him on the telephone. And then we are going to mix it up just a little bit. Good friend of mine, a young lady who takes care of the scoring down at Cochran Motor Speedway. She's also followed a couple of different series around the Southeast and helped out with the scoring. Wendy Boston is in the restaurant with us tonight, and we're going to go in a little bit more in depth in what happens during a night of racing with the scoring. And Dale is telling me that we've been working on this for a while now, and we are going to open up the phones here coming up toward the end of the show. And right now we'll probably get to some phone calls probably around 8:30, maybe a little sooner, maybe a little bit later. But if you're watching tonight and you'd like to call in with a question or comment, we'll do our best to answer those questions. But first and foremost, before we do anything else, we believe in faith, family, and country here at the Deep Dixie Racing Report. And so wherever you're at right now, I'm going to ask if you would to please take a moment and pause as we go to the Lord in prayer, and then we will come back with our national anthem. Shall we pray? Father, once again, we thank you for a beautiful day. We thank you for life, health, and strength, and being able to come back on a Thursday night one more time to have some fellowship with some friends and hopefully make some new ones. As always, we pray for everybody in our racing family, and Lord, those that are sick among us, those that are battling with injuries and recovering from surgery and that sort of thing, we just ask that you help each one. And during our show tonight, we pray that we'll have an opportunity to lift someone's day, to encourage them, and Lord, to even be able to share the gospel of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, with somebody that may be tuning in. We appreciate the chance to do this, and we want to honor you first and foremost, and thank you for the privilege and the honor to be a part of it. And we ask all these things in the name of Jesus. Amen. At this time, we are going to honor America with the playing of our national anthem. God bless America. Once again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Pastor Todd Sharon, your host, alongside Brian Hester and Dale Hall. He is the technical part of the team. We appreciate you tuning in. And guys, again, we want to thank our friends here at the Rescue Smokehouse Grill, Mr. Raymond Poor, his wife Amy, the entire staff here. It is a great place to come and eat. Each and every week that I've been here, I've had an opportunity to have supper, and I haven't got anything that wasn't outstanding yet. You got to come and try one of their steaks, man. They have some very, very good barbecue, award-winning barbecue. But if you want a good steak, venture off the barbecue path a little bit and grab you something good to eat. I see Brian grinning. They got a big old ribeye. Usually I don't try to tackle that ribeye before doing the show. But if you've got children, if you've got somebody in your family that maybe they're not into barbecue, there's plenty of good things on the menu. Guys, they'll be open until 10 o'clock tonight. You still got close to 3 hours to come on down to exit 75 right here in beautiful Inahaw, Georgia. Man, you can't beat that. Once you exit Interstate 75, I promise you, if you're going south, you come to the top of the exit ramp and you pretty much almost make a U-turn right into the parking lot. Of course, if you're traveling north, come on across the bridge. Either way, it's a very, very short distance from the highway, and you got to come check it out. We don't talk about them because we have to. We talk about them because we believe in what they do. They've got a great atmosphere here, and I promise you, if you'll come check it out, Rescue Smokehouse Grill, exit 75, you will not be disappointed. All right, let's get right to it. Brian, real quick before we get into our recap of everything that's happened over the last weekend, I have some very good news. First of all, I want to say a special hello to my good buddy, Bubba Howe, who is tuning in, I'm sure. Matter of fact, Bubba was a guest on the show here a few weeks back, and I guess it would have been Tuesday morning, I believe. He was on his way to work very, very early. The roads were wet, and a deer jumped out in front of him, and Bubba was in a curve when that happened, and he locked the brakes to try to keep from hitting the deer. The truck hydroplane went off the road and hit an embankment pretty hard. And it could have been a whole lot worse. So first of all, we thank God that Bubba is going to be okay. He did get some back injury. I think there were several vertebrae, compression fractures, if I'm saying that right. The good news is I don't think they're going to have to do back surgery. And he also broke his ankle in that. And that injury is probably going to be more time consuming to overcome. But had an opportunity to call Brian. I didn't even know what had happened. I saw something about it on Facebook. And
he's very fortunate. I'd heard from some folks today that it actually was bad. So.
I could tell. I actually called Bubba, a good friend of mine, and didn't expect an answer. And, of course, the voicemail was full. And a few minutes later, Bubba called me back. So I actually got to speak with Bubba. And the good news is non-life-threatening injuries. And so to God be the glory, man. That could have been a whole lot worse. And one more thing before we go into the racing part. Mr. Elvis McCoy, he has been a member of our racing family down at Cochran for as long as I can remember. And Elvis has been through an incredible journey over the last, I'm guessing, probably 4 months. It may even be a little bit longer than that. And Chris Martin down at Cochran, the track owner down there, Chris was telling me yesterday that if everything works out, then Elvis is going to get to come home on Friday. And guys, you have no idea what a miracle that is, what an answer to prayer that is. Maybe in time we can get Elvis on here and let him give you a quick testimony. But I literally have been at Elvis's bedside to where we were not sure that he was going to make it. And all of the prayers and all of the support that he has received from family and friends, God has answered our prayers. And so, Elvis, it's good to hear the good news, buddy, and we'll hope to see you real soon. All right, Brian, first things first, man, probably headline news throughout the weekend would have been some events that happened up in Eldora. Give us the inside scoop of what went down up there.
All right, well, they had a pretty decent crowd. There's some numbers that fell off years, due to the economy and everything. It was still a stellar crowd, about 90 cars starting on Thursday night. It was pretty much a hat trick for Bloomquist and Davenport. first 2 nights in both preliminary features, and turns around, comes back down between them 2 on Saturday night, and $100,000 question is, where'd your 25 pounds of lead go?
Right,
so, right. It's been called cheating. It's been called everything you can think. But a guy that's that good at what he does, it's just hard to believe sometimes on one way that they made that big a mistake, because he's the type of guy you learn from. He's the guy that, is probably the best 100-lap racer there is, and probably ever will be. He's probably got more 100-lap win races than anybody.
Right.
Probably past, future, and present. Just whatever. And 25 pounds is a big mistake.
Yeah.
So, they go. I talked to a friend of mine today, and I've never run with 100-lappers, but he told me they go as far as, putting wore-out tires on the car, no fuel in the car, taking like your suit off to weigh the car out, like you've lost your sweat and perspiration and stuff like that, and they get it down to what they need. And like I said, from all the people that I know that was up there was no loss of lead on the track. There was something to do with a mystery about a screwdriver winding up on the track. I don't know what that was for, but
who was that in front of now?
But like I say, bad mistake.
Yeah.
And the thing about it was, the week before, Jonathan had schooled him on a restart and beat him at the checkered flag and tied him in a Lucas Oil race. So that thing's been building for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden it unfolds like that.
Yeah.
They said that place was rocky.
Yeah, I heard. By the way, if you're just tuning in, thanks for joining us. The Deep Dixie Racing Report coming to you live from the Rescue Smokehouse Grill. Matter of fact, Brian, I actually made a pit stop at Mike Hurd's place before I headed down today. Had some business to attend to down in Montezuma area, and when I was there, Mike's brother was able to go up, and they were actually on hand at Eldora. And one of the things that we were talking about, every racer, they know every trick in the book.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and if there's not been a trick made, I promise you eventually it'll be made up.
Yep.
And one of the oldest tricks in the book, after you get done with the race, you drop down to the apron, you spin the tires, you kick that mud up on the inside of the quarter panels.
Yep.
And if you've ever scraped that mud off, you know that can provide a lot of weight. And the thing that was interesting is that after the race, these particular gentlemen were focused in on Bloomquist and their report and their perspective. He never ever went down to the inside of the track. He never tried to get a little extra weight just to be sure or whatever. And we were talking too. And look, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm just interested the way it turns out. Bloomquist, arguably the greatest dirt track racer of all time. Eldora Speedway, that $100,000 win, arguably the biggest race that there ever be. I know there was $1 million race a few years back, but you would think that you miscalculate on 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 25 pounds. Either that was an enormous oversight, or there was an enormous amount of faith going over that scale. So. What is the fallout about this? I mean, what happens? Does that slow your momentum? Does that put a fire under you? What does it do?
With him, he's been down this road before. You see all the little stuff on Facebook and this and that, but he's been down this road before. I don't remember how many years ago it was, but it was back in Alpha days when he was driving Barry Wright and him. He had a couple of incidents the same way, probably nowhere near as bad as the, as far as losing it like that. You'd much rather lose it on the track than lose it like that. Shannon Babb lost the World 100 probably back in, I'm going to say 05, 06. He run away with it. They get down there, and they had, from that morning or that afternoon, sometime or other, they had to change the motor during that Saturday night, and they took them and put a smaller motor in. It was difference in the weight and the block and the heads or something. They miscalculated by 30 pounds. Lost the World 100. And as far as prestigious race, that's the biggest one you want to win.
Right.
You had, but With him, this is my opinion. Yeah, he's probably he's already in another place that most of us can't get. But he'll bounce back from it.
Yeah.
He'll be tough, and he'll be just as I guess you say recluse as he is.
Yeah.
Everything. So,
Yeah.
most folks, it's a love-hate relationship with him.
Yeah. Well, he definitely puts people in the seats, and
He does.
we were also talking. I mean, right now we're hitting the summer stretch, and really right now, win, lose, or draw. And congratulations to Jonathan Davenport.
Yep.
I know that was a huge win,
But
but whether or not you were the winner, $100,000 richer, or you suffered a huge disappointment like Bloomquist did, you don't have a whole lot of time to sit around and either celebrate or pout about it. And the Hell Tour, if I'm not mistaken, immediately kicked off, and Davenport comes back and scores a $10,000 win. Was that last night?
I don't know if it was last night or the night before. I know Dennis Erb won in Brownstown,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if that was last night or Tuesday night. I can't remember, but I think Davenport's already done good. He'll be on the road. And he actually said in his interview that was the best car ever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's drove a bunch of different chassis.
Yeah.
He said the best thing, he actually told me, he said there at the end, even when the tires wore out, he said when I caught him, I was mad through the turns. And that's on a track slipping that floor right there. And you can do that at that big a place. I mean, he's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And he always has been. You know, this is his first, big win.
Yeah, on a national level,
Yes.
I suppose. We've seen him come to East Alabama before and drop the hammer on the best, man. But anyway, I knew that was going to be of great interest. And, you never, ever know. And it's incredible that you win a race like that. And everybody that was there, eyewitnesses, Bloomquist did not back into this win. I mean, they basically said he ran everybody down and passed them up. So wherever you come out on the Bloomquist Davenport deal there, it's something that provides great conversation. Now, Brian, bringing it a little bit closer to home, I know that there was a few things that was going on this past week. And for those of you that are just tuning in, Deep Dixie Racing Report, Pastor Todd Sharon. I'm the track announcer at Cochran Motor Speedway, and glad and honored to be the host of the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Brian Hester not only is a good friend, but Brian is a part of the team as well. Dale Hall behind the camera. He's the producer of the show. And thanks to our sponsors, 5-Star Hyundai, Warner Robins, Heartland EMS in Cochran, Georgia. And Brian, just give us a rundown of everything that happened, and maybe while you're on it, give us an update of what's coming up.
Okay. Just the two biggest highlights to me that mean a lot to me because I knew this guy coming up and saw him race when I was a kid at Dixie. The Bill Ingram Memorial race was this past weekend at Dixie Speedway. Jason Hyde pulled off another big win up there. Sean Chastain, Dylan Ames, Derek Ellis, which is a buddy of mine, and Donald McIntosh was your top five. John Owen from Tennessee wins the two back-to-back, which has been kind of hard to do with the Neesmith Creek Series. He gets back-to-back wins at 411 Motor Speedway. And got to give a shout-out to a fellow in our neck of the woods. It seems to, no matter what happens to him, Mr. Tesson Floyd pulls off another win with a car that's shooting ducks and everything else. Of course, they've already had that problem one time this year, I think, when he won a race. And I mean, literally, the car would not run. You could see it. And I know you saw it from the middle of the back straightaway. He couldn't even go in the turn. Bad. He wins another one. Russell Brown annihilates the field. And
And, by the way, Russell Brown came just a tick from breaking the track record. Our track record is a 14:105, and I know that well because I talk about it every week. And for the longest time, there was a huge reward bonus for anybody who can beat it. J.R. Mosley, the driver of the 99 car, he set that record coming up on almost 2 years ago, 2013, August of 2013, no less. It was hot that night, 14:105. And Russell Brown Jr. laid down a 14:144. And as you said, Brian, I have seen a lot of races, but that may have been the most dominating car I've ever seen at Cochran.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, The Rogers guy run pretty good. He's somebody that doesn't break
Right,
very often.
right.
And hats off to Will Harrington with a very scary start.
Oh, yeah,
Good gracious, I hadn't won that kid saved that thing was beyond me. I'd have probably pulled a motor slam out of it if I was driving it. So,
Yeah.
Good reflexes on his part. The sportsman race was another good race.
Photo finish.
Photo finish. Down to the wire, and I guess we'll get into the scoring thing after a while about that. So, there was a bunch of people scratching their head. It looked one way, but I guess the score system don't lie, does it?
It's incredible how that things work themselves out. Now, one of our guests that has come here tonight, she's been a friend of mine for a long time. We've worked together for a long time, and she is the scorer. And we had already planned for her to come down and be a part of the show. And it just so happens that we had that sportsman race. And I can tell you, from my vantage point, I am sitting up there literally, and Wendy sits about 3 feet to the left of me. We have a bird's eye view. And I was calling this race because Taylor was working on David Powell for at least 3 laps. And David,
It caution every time.
yeah, it was incredible. And a big shout out to David Powell, man. What an incredible run.
And I think David looked like he was having some problems in 3 and 4. I don't know if the car wasn't doing right or something, but he couldn't carry his momentum
And
there.
1 and 2 as well. And it's like after a couple of those restarts, David was able to somehow or another wrestle that thing back. And it was amazing he was able to do what he did. But by the way, I happened to run into David on the way out of the racetrack. This was pretty late. I was heading back to my car, had stopped into the office, said goodbye to my teammates, and I saw the car pulling out about the time I walked out. And I stopped him and I said, I just want to find David and tell him he had a good run. It turns out David was standing about 2 feet away from me, and David Powell was not bitter. He was not angry. He was not upset. He simply said it was a great run. He said the handle went away, and somehow or another it got good enough that he could run with Josh. And I mean, that was probably one of the closest races I've ever seen. And when they finished the race, I was unable to say anything because I wasn't sure.
Right.
But electronically,
Right.
we do have an electronic scoring system, and nothing is perfect, but the loop is set up right there, and it did in fact show. It couldn't have been by no more than, I'm literally saying, less than an inch.
Yeah.
But he did take the win, and we'll talk more about that. But coming up next weekend at Cochran, that'll be the 20th, the All-Star Stock Car Series. They're coming back to CMS, and they spent a lot of time there over the last 6 weeks or so.
Dave, we've gone kind of the premier spot for a little while, at least through the summer. You know, after that, they've got the $5,000 really show in Golden House.
Yes.
That'll be coming up. That'll be another good show next week. And the show will be trimmed down a little bit. You know, we'll have as many classes, so just want people to come back and see another good one. I think they're playing with some different things. The track's a little bit heavier this Of course, it looked a lot racier, maybe not so much in the late model, but the other divisions, it did look very racy. So, it should be a good one. I mean, they'll turn up, and them top 12, 13 cars is tough iron.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious to see, and there's been a lot of different goings on in the All-Star Stock Car Series world, but there's some folks coming from like, I mean, they're coming for him. And most of them are his buddies.
Yeah.
And it really is interesting, and I've been there before with my racing. It's interesting how, and I can see it from the outside, and they can be such buddies, but once they get in that car, they can turn that switch off, turn the other one on, and be competitors. Yeah. And it's pretty cool. That's a pretty good camaraderie between them guys.
Yeah, very good. And again, we had Michael Davis on the show with us. Kyle Livingood was on one side of me. Michael was on the other. And just, I mean, within 60 seconds, you can know these guys have a lot of respect. They cut up and take a lot of shots at one another, but they definitely are friends. But I got to tell you, man, of course, every week is different. Every race is different. But Michael Davis and that Rim Rider crew, man, and the Extreme Racing Engines, Richard White, those guys are on a roll. Jason Floyd, now granted, there was a lot of attrition in that pure stock race, and I was beginning to wonder, was there even going to be anybody left to race? And I mean, we started out with like 12, 13 cars.
And I think right here again, you know, we had a couple of guys that spun out and got tangled up, and I've literally, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not going to mention their names, but I come to find out later on, is I think from Cameron Hall had messaged me, they had flat run out of tear-offs.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of them running out of tear-offs.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
the track was just a little bit heavier than normal, and I think it caused some guys off yard.
Yeah.
Radiators filling up with mud and stuff, and
overheat
and everything. So,
yeah.
I think this is a good time to kind of play with the track and give everybody a little bit of a chance to do something different before that comes up next week. And then also, we got the Showing Up Big Show coming up, you know, July 3rd.
Oh, yeah, that is going to be probably the biggest purse.
The news is right now, I don't know for sure, and I can't, they talked about maybe opening that up, but I can't do that to Chris because I don't know if it's been officially announced, but there might be opening up to some of the new DLMS cars, but I don't think this decision is coming out for sure. But, trying to get a good car count that way.
Yeah.
There's some other stuff going on in different places and all, and I don't blame Chris. I know he wants to, you know, it's when somebody calls on a Friday night, you know, and I'm prone to do it myself. How many cars in there? And had about 35, 48 cars. Okay. Well, you know, I am. Most people might not be. That perks my interest up.
Yeah. And what we're talking about, for those of you just tuning in, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dixie Racer Report. It is being titled the second annual Georgia Showdown, $10,000 to win in late model. The Southern Outlaw Super Street Series, Bobby and Kim Piper Series coming back that same night, $5,000 to win that race. And then the Sportsman, Pure Stock, and Bomber each paying $2,000 to win in that race. And guys, this is just a note. We don't have 100% confirmation on this, but what our plan is, Thursday night, I guess that would be like the second, July the 2nd, before the Independence Day weekend race. Lord willing, we are planning on bringing the Deep Dixie Racing Report to you live from Cochran Motor Speedway. And one of the reasons that we wanted to do that, Brian, there's going to be an abundance of drivers there. I know that they're going to be busy, they're going to be practicing and so forth, but we are hoping that we're going to be able to just have some impromptu, spur of the moment interviews, maybe be able to give you just a little bit of footage of what's going on with practice. And so the good Lord willing, coming up on the 2nd of July, that is going to be a Thursday night. It's already been announced that we're going to practice. The Deep Dixie Racing Report will come to you live from Cochran Motor Speedway. Then on Friday night, there's going to be qualifying and heats in all classes. And I think there's actually going to be a dash for cash that night. And then we come back on Saturday for, in my time with Cochran, this is the biggest purse that I've ever seen. $10,000 to win in a late model race, and then $5,000 with Super Streets.
And I think the payout's $350 to start the race.
I'm not sure on that, but if you take just the winner's share, then you got $21,000 just in first place checks there. That's not counting on back down through the field. But guys, that's going to be a big deal. Going to be a big race, and so keep your eye on the website, CochranSpeedway.com. We've got a Facebook page. And of course, we'll try to keep you posted as how things are going. I do know there's a lot of people planning on being there, and you're probably going to see some big names kind of dip in. And so make a note of that. Independence Day weekend, you're not going to want to miss that.
Shout out for this weekend. We got at least 3 races in our area. Matter of fact, right on the border. I'll probably be in Benton, Alabama tomorrow night for the CT Chevrolet Performance CT 525 cars. They've been throwing a bunch of cars for that. Original plans was Columbus, and we got talking about it, and this is more of our guys. And we'll have LeVon Sparks and Dana Island, William Thomas. You have guys like that we know, so we decided to back it up and go there. Probably go to Talladega short track Saturday night, go to the Hornets Nest, be our second trip back over there, and I think they're kind of looking forward to us coming back and all. I talked to some folks around Pittman today, that area around LaGrange, and they're excited. They want us to be there. So we'll tell everybody now, Pittman is in the woods. So if the reports is slow, don't blame it on me, because I can't climb a pine tree that fast.
I hear you.
Also, another one that's coming up this weekend that means a lot to me. I raced against this guy when we were younger, and it's the Scott Sexton Memorial Southern All Stars race at the Volunteer Speedway of Bulls Gap, Tennessee, right off I-81 there. Scott got some bad health about 3 or 4 years ago, but he was hands down real good late model racing, won a bunch of big races. Probably not a household name, but in his day, he was one of the bad guys in go-kart racing, and that was kind of still, kind of dear to my heart and all. He was a consummate professional. He was really cool, and he's a bit older than me, so I kind of like, I want to be kind of like him a little bit. But as far as that goes, that's going to be, about it. Golden Isles, I think, has got a big E-Mod race this weekend. Dale, I think it's paying 2 or 3 to win.
I'm not sure. I think it was.
They're looks like they're going to be having some guys coming from different areas to come run that E-Mod thing. And we talked to a few guys on the show about E-Mods. It's basically like the ones you see UMP and the IMCA. They just got a smaller motor, like it's almost comparable to the All-Stars Pop Series motor, but they're lightweight and they'll still move.
Yeah, and again, man, if you've never ever been to anywhere where you see a modified race, open wheel modified, the cars have a totally different look.
Yeah,
that is some of the best racing I have ever seen. It's something I think that is much more affordable as far as the weekend racer. And every time I've ever seen one, they've got a great field of cars, and they put on a great show. So if you're anywhere near Brunswick down there, near the coast, that'd be a good place to check out. And Brian, another real quick note. We've been talking about a series that is going to debut this coming weekend. It's called the Junior Enduro Series at Cochran. And what this is, unless I'm mistaken, Wendy, maybe you can help me. It's for drivers like from ages 12 to 16, I think so.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a beginner rookie class in the purest sense of the word. Literally, these are young people that maybe have raced go-karts. Some of them not even done that. In the last couple of weeks, there has been an opportunity for some practice. And coming up this Saturday night at Cochran, the Junior Enduros are going to make their debut. And that's going to be interesting to see. I know there's going to be a lot of nervous moms and dads. And we're also going to have a Power Wheels race, too, for children 5 and under. So a lot of good things coming up. The summer stretch, we're right on it, man. School's out. It's hot. It's 90 degrees and going to be that way probably over the next 10 days in our neck of the woods. But, Brian, are we forgetting anything? We leaving anything out, buddy?
I don't know. I was short on my homework this week. Yeah.
Well, I know that last week we had Mr. Eddie McDonald Jr. He was with us, and we were talking about the big race down at Watermelon Capital. And Dale, maybe you could give us a little bit of insight on that. Did you actually make the race?
I did. It was a great race. Daniel Hemrick won the race.
Okay.
And Chase Elliott come in second. Great race. I mean, there were about 5 cars up fighting for the lead all night long.
Okay.
Harrison Burton was one of them. Casey Roderick, I believe. And those were the top 4, I believe.
The corn dog race in East Alabama, who wound up winning that?
I think it was Dylan.
That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right. And again,
what he did was the corn dog one of the trophies that he got.
Yeah, something bad. Either that or you got a bag full of hot dogs or something. I don't know. That thing was all broke down in several different ways. It was going lined up.
They were having fun doing that, getting prepared.
Yeah, I thought I was going to call my night straight out and figure that thing out.
It was like corn dogs of the winter, and then it was like hot dogs and then chicken baskets. But there was several guys, and I'm serious about that. That's the way they advertised it. I know Mike Hurd was one of the guys, and there were several other people that pitched in. trying to just increase the pot a little bit.
And he got pumped up pretty good. I mean, it was it was hundreds of people talking about it. You know, that
mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. That was I just got tied up Saturday, and I was actually going to go over there, but I didn't make it.
Yeah. Well, man, we appreciate as always. There's probably not a harder working guy in racing than Brian Hester. I'm talking about from a reporter's, journalist standpoint. Brian loves it as good as anybody I've ever seen, and he always comes back with a lot of detailed information. And Brian, I know that this weekend, if you do make it down to Pitton and then back to Talladega Short Track, you guys going to be keeping us updated through Facebook, letting us know what's happening?
Actually, I've actually got the tools to actually get video now. Now I got to figure out how to get it from the video to the so-and-so to the Facebook and all that. So,
well, is this actually tomorrow night?
It's tomorrow night. Yeah.
I might join you over there then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm retired. I can do that.
I'm semi-retired, so I just do it because I want to.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, man. Downtown Dale Hall, he is gonna be on the move here lately. Now, he's done with his teaching, and Dale, how'd your fishing trip go, buddy?
Went real well.
Real well, huh? Did you catch the biggest?
I didn't catch the biggest, but I had.
We ain't carrying it.
I had the most interesting thing happen.
All right, let's hear it.
I caught a king mackerel. I got him all the way up to the boat, and about a 6-foot barracuda cut him in half.
Oh my!
I put pictures up on Facebook. So
man, Dale Hall, who has had a great career in teaching and coaching, he finished up his career literally about a week and a half ago. And Dale Hall, one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet. I teased him a little bit. He likes for me to give him these nicknames, and so he keeps me on my toes.
I'm getting a different one each week. It seems like or two.
Last week, now he's downtown. I'm going to keep on keeping it fresh.
I got to give a shout out too. Also, coming up July 5th. If everybody's still restless and wants to go watch some racing, I've been telling these guys over and over and over. And I'm going to start talking more about them. They are some good people. All-purpose Swainsboro Raceway. The rain out Ray Cook race will be running that Sunday evening, so you ain't got nothing to do. You got a 4-day weekend. You got your Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and your Monday. Some businesses do that. They have some shutdowns here in the middle of 1st of July. They just put about 100 something loads of clay on it. Talked to Terry Lonely earlier, and he said the track is good. Had a little issue there. Maybe had to work on some things on that picture, but the track is a little bit faster, a little bit wider, a little more banked. So I'd like to kind of get out. I'll probably wind up there that Sunday. I'm trying to work with them now. Me and maybe Dale can get there and do some filming finally. Maybe get us a lift where we can get up and get near the tower so we can film it off.
You say they put clay down?
Yeah, they put over 100 loads of clay. I'm talking about as soon as the hat dropped. Saturday night, they was already put clay in the track.
Wow.
Didn't I see some pictures in the last few days?
Yeah, there's.
Now I saw some pictures of the one down in south of Lake City too.
Yeah, there's track.
Is that some kind of high-tech track?
Yeah,
what's the name of
that? It's Ellisville, Florida.
Yes.
And I don't know where that is, but
just south of Lake City.
South of Lake City. Wow.
Right off I-75, I believe.
That's got to be right down close to the line, huh?
Yeah, so that's how many tracks are running in that area now? So you got
North Florida's about 11 miles away.
Wow.
That is very close.
We thought
Two dirt tracks in the same area.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you're just tuning in, this is the Deep Dixie Racing Report. We had quite a bit of stuff to catch up on. Brian, as always, thank you. And I'm going to ask you, if you will, I know you ain't had supper yet. If you'll just hang in here with me for another minute or two. Dale, if you can, let's see if we can get Tyler Summerlin on the phone. Again, thanks to our friends here at the Rescue Smokehouse Grill, Raymond and Amy Poor, their staff, outstanding place to come eat. The food is delicious. It's really, really good, guys. It's very affordable, and the atmosphere is laid back. They're going to be open until 10 o'clock tonight. Come check them out, exit 75. Real easy access, whether you're traveling north or south. Come on down and check them out. The Rescue Smokehouse Grill right here on exit 75. Tyler, Pastor Todd Sharon, Deep Dixie Racing Report. How are you, buddy? Good. Folks, joining us on the line right now, a young man that was probably in our thoughts and in our minds over the last 2 weeks or so. a great race driver in his own right, but had a pretty nasty crash over there in Albany. And I remember seeing something about it that night. Wasn't sure how bad or what the circumstances were, but I've heard several people talk about it, and it was a pretty nasty crash. Tyler, I really don't like to talk about things like this, but first of all, how are you doing? And as much as you are comfortable sharing, tell us what happened that night, buddy.
I don't remember. It knocked me out.
Okay. Well, how are you doing now?
Well, I'm doing better. My head doesn't hurt as much now. I'm getting around with it better.
Okay. All right. Well, for those that may be joining us tonight that may not be real familiar with your race team and your racing career, tell us what car you drive, what class you drive in, where you race at, and how you got started.
Well, I drive the 149 in limited late model at Albany, and I got started about 3 years ago when I was 13. My dad bought me a little mini stock, and well, we got where we was pretty good in it and won a pretty good amount of races in it, and then we moved on up to limited this year, and right now we're second in points.
Okay. Now, with that crash, what would that have been? Coming up on 3 weeks ago, did that total out your car? Did that put your racing on hold, health-wise or equipment-wise? Where are you at on that?
It totaled out the car. It bit the back end pretty bad. And when they cut me out, they cut the halo, and usually you don't. They cut the main support bar for the halo, so there wasn't really any saving the car. But we got several people that offered me a ride to keep my points up, and we're going to do that until we get our new car ready.
Okay, gotcha. If you're just tuning in to the Deep Dixie Racing Report, we welcome all of you. We're on the line. And Tyler, if I am not mistaken, that'll put you at 16 years old. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I just turned 17 last Friday.
Okay. 17-year-old driver Tyler Summerlin spent a couple years in the mini stocks and moved up to the limited late model. And Brian, I guess that's the equivalent of our Sportsman. Is that right?
Same thing, yeah.
And had a pretty nasty crash a few Saturdays ago at Albany Motor Speedway. And you said that you're second in the points. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you raced since the accident?
No, sir.
Okay. So you've had a couple of friends and people that would like to help you out so that you don't lose all of the effort put into the points. When do you feel like maybe that you may make your next start?
Well, hopefully we're going to make it Saturday at Albany. We'll have another points race over there.
Okay. All right. Now, do you race anywhere other than Albany?
No, sir. We race Needmore a few times, but other than that, we don't race that much around. We really ain't got the money to travel right now.
I understand. Well, Tyler, I know that everybody that races right now, we've got a very tight-knit racing family, man. And I can tell you the only thing that I saw was that there had been an accident, and there was an outpouring of support and love. And I think that everybody, when something like that happens, of course, we weren't all sure how bad everything was, but it just sounded like it was a serious situation. And there's a lot of people pulling for you, man, and a lot of people were praying for you that night. And I want to ask you, just from a racer standpoint, when you went back, and I'm guessing that you did, or your friends and family told you about that, how does it make you feel to see that much love and support, people that you don't even know praying for you and hoping that you'll get back up to full strength real soon? How does that make you feel?
It's real humbling, you know. It's just, you got all these people you ain't never seen, you ain't really talked to much in your life. They want to see you make it back to the top where you were. It's just really a great feeling.
Yeah, I could only imagine, man. It gave me a good feeling, and I don't think you and I have ever met, but Brian, it never ceases to amaze me. You can see people in racing that fly off like that, but as quick as they're ready to fight you, they're ready to help you when the need is there.
Tyler, Did you run a clip car with a built motor, or did you run a 602?
We ran a 602 with a 2 chassis.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I was there that night. It was pretty nasty hit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Tyler, I know that that nobody does this alone, and on our Deep Dixie Racing Report show, every time I talk to a driver, we want to give you an opportunity to thank the folks that help you out on the car, whether it be family, friends, or those people that sponsor you. And I don't know how many people are tuned in tonight, but I know there's a lot of people that watch the show. And right now, you've got an opportunity to give your sponsors some love. So tell us who helps you out, buddy.
Well, first off, my daddy and Nana, and my stepmom, and Uncle Ben and Uncle Eddie, they all helped me a lot. I got a couple of these sponsors coming on for the new car, but they ain't really set in stone yet. But I want to thank Griffin Farm. It was his car that I was driving. He bought me the car to hook up and limited and his motor. And let's see, I need to thank Daryl Kent. He's helped me a lot on carburetors and doing a lot of work to that. And this Summerlin Farm stuff is a lot. They gave a shop to use and tools to use. And really, that's it. To be honest with you, we really don't have that many sponsors.
Okay. Well, man, we are really glad that you took some time out to join us tonight. And it sounds like that you've had a couple weeks now to heal up and to recover. And it got to be a good feeling that several people have offered to let you drive for them to maintain your points. And we really wish you the best, man. And we appreciate you taking time to join us. And hopefully we'll be able to do this again soon. We wish you the very best, not only this weekend, but the rest of 2015, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Well, God bless you and have a good evening, friend. That is Mr. Tyler Summerlin, the young man that suffered a very, very nasty crash down at Albany Motor Speedway. And, you know, Brian, I guess on some ways, Tyler clearly said he has no recollection of anything. Yeah. Was knocked out, and in some ways, I'm guessing that probably might be a good thing. In other ways, you could look at that as being, you know, a bad thing. Where do you come out on that? Well, if you were a driver, if something like that happened, what would you rather?
Oh, I had several nasty spills while racing go-karts, and I raced forever and those things, and they're more prone to get on their head, you know. Exactly what I'm talking about. She's worked over Dixie for a pretty good while. Mm-hmm. I've cleared 4-foot fences. I've been knocked slam out, I know, twice. Mm-hmm. And last time was pretty bad. It pretty much ended it for me, and that was great. Mm-hmm. And but really, I don't know, because, you know, getting knocked out is one thing, but if you've got injuries other than that, I would just about say if it was me, if it was worse, I'd just about say be knocked out. Yeah. And just don't even know until they get me to the hospital later. Yeah. I don't do good at that anyway, so.
I know, man. I know.
It's, you know, even with the safety stuff, and from what I've seen, I think he had a full containment seat and all that. It still shows you, even in Albany, one of the slower pace type tracks, you can still get cracked up for these. I mean, the guys, you really don't know. We've talked about the Knowles boy, a month ago at Rome, had a rock that big come through those bars in the winter, hit him in the chest. You know, a little further, a lot worse. Jeff Cook, Charlotte, years ago, brake rotor hit him and just went through the helmet and just messed his face off. So those dangers are still there. My biggest fear was always the drive shaft. And there's bunches of drivers we know that.
Phil
Pittman,
the most recent. Dale, I think you were there that night.
I filmed that night.
Yeah, 441.
Jack Pennington. Everybody knows Jack Pennington. He's one of the biggest winners in the Southeast United States. You know, Jack, if you ever see him around, he actually walks kind of favors that right leg. And he's got all pieces, I think, the 70s or early 80s, when the drive shaft comes through there and all. Yeah.
Well, that's what happened to Tony Stewart, wasn't it?
I think so. Something, the input shaft, they call a half shaft in a sprint car, you know, runs between your legs.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And when he went to flipping, I think it broke loose and that's what got.
Well, I remember watching them get Phil Pittman out of the car that night, and Leo was up close filming it. You could just see his leg dangling there. That was
and
bad.
Phil Pittman, man. I mean, we need to get Phil on the show.
Yeah.
You're talking about a tough customer, man. Oh, Phil, I don't think he never even grimaced,
He's
man.
done everything. He's on tracks.
Yeah.
On several tracks.
Yeah.
He's sponsored. He owns cars, races cars. He's done
To
it
this
all.
day.
That would be a good.
And Phil he reminds me of somebody you would see in the Wild West. And I actually had an opportunity to talk to Phil several times. Phil and of course his late wife, and congratulations to Phil. He is remarried, got a beautiful family. But I've had an opportunity to be around Phil many times away from the track. They've been to our church. But that night when that happened, I actually talked to Phil and Dale. I saw the footage. I don't think Phil, when someone told me that when they went up to the car, Phil was just calm as a cucumber and said, it broke my leg. Just be careful if my leg's broke. When they were taking him out, and as you said, without getting too graphic, there was clearly, it was a break. And
the thing about it was so weird. It was what a couple weeks before then, where he would come on the track late, and he went to spin the car around in the track at 441. It's so banked, it had a lip at the top. When he spun it around, he went around the other way, and the car flipped over.
That was the easiest rollover I've ever seen, probably.
It was like, did he just really do that?
Yeah.
And he said, all I was trying to do was cause the caution. I didn't know.
Yeah, we were going up on my lid, but Phil, one of the veterans in this game, man, and I'm telling you, he's got a nickname, Mr. Excitement, and Phil Pittman is fearless. He really is. He charges the corner. I guess he and Keith Edge, some of the guys that just really just go in full bore. But we talk about racing a lot, and each and every week at Cochran, one of the things that I get to do is we do the prayer and the national anthem every single week. And there's so many people in our racing family that we really are a close-knit group, and even though racing is fun, it's incredibly exciting and enjoyable. It is also dangerous, and almost never do we have stuff, but occasionally you'll have something like happened with Tyler, and with social media now, within literally a matter of moments, people knew about it, and updates were given and so forth. But anyway, enough about that, man. We just hope that everybody has a good, safe weekend this coming up. And Brian, I really do appreciate it, man. I want to say thank you. I know that you cover a lot of miles on your job. You still find time to make it to these other tracks and bring us back some reports, and to make it down here to exit 75 every week. And Dale, I tell you what, if you don't mind, let's have a short timeout. I got about 5 minutes till 8. We're going to take a short break, folks. But before we do that, again, we want to thank our sponsors, Mr. Mike Hurd and our friends down at 5 Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins, Georgia. Russell Parkway is one of the main drags in Warner Robins. You can exit Interstate 75 on Russell Parkway, and it's probably about an 8 mile, maybe less than that, ride straight into town. And once you get into the busy section of town, you'll be able to see 5 Star Hyundai. It is a beautiful state-of-the-art facility. And once again, Mike Hurd and the award-winning staff, I went today to get my oil changed in the car. 869 dealerships, Brian, in the United States. And Mike Hurd and the staff there at 5 Star Hyundai in Warner Robins, our hometown, they were #1 in the country. And when you go into that service area, first thing that's going to strike you is how clean it is.
Yeah.
And there are banners all along the wall that they constantly win their region and have won national awards. Hyundai, one of the strongest warranties in the entire auto industry. And the thing I like about it is Mike is just an easygoing guy. They work on all makes and models. And if you're in the market for a new vehicle, maybe you've got a child that's turning 16, about ready to start driving, they've got a lot of pre-owned cars. They've got outstanding selection of new vehicles. and now is the time to go and check it out. And right here from where we're at, Brian, it's 80 miles to the rescues from my driveway. And so I'm guessing it's probably 70 miles or 65 miles to Five Star Hyundai. And guys, it's worth the drive. It really is. Go check it out. And you're dealing with a business that loves racing and helps the racer.
And I call Hyundai cars, so I'm up.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, Mr. Bill Cheek. I can't say enough about Bill Cheek. He is a president of Heartland EMS. He's a friend of mine. He's a friend of Brian's. Mr. Bill is just he is a very well-respected fixture in our community, and he has been very generous to the racing community. And they have come on to help sponsor the Deep Dixie Racing Report. You know what's funny? Bill done this just out of a generous act out of his heart. You know, Dale, it was kind of funny. He said, Pastor Todd, you know, I really don't have a need to do a lot of advertising. He said, anybody that needs me, they know you only got to call 911. And I'm like, yeah, I feel you, Bill. That's right. But nevertheless, they helped us out to sponsor us. And so, Bill, if you're watching, or anybody from Heartland, Mike Hurt, if you're watching, anybody from Five Star, we do appreciate it. We really, really do. Thanks for your help. All right, guys, let's do this. Brian, thank you. Another job, well done. And I know we'll have another belly full of reports coming up next Thursday night. Right now, we're going to take a short time out, get a little something to drink, stretch our legs out. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by the scorer at Cochran Motor Speedway. She is a veteran scorer, and I will say she's the best scorer that I've ever worked with. Miss Wendy Boston down here, she is going to take us through the whole process. A lot of people wonder what happens in the scoring tower. How does it go about and so forth. She's going to take us from the very moment that a driver registers at the racetrack until the night is finished. She's going to give us a look into the scoring from her perspective. You're going to want to be there and hear that. We're also going to take your phone calls a little bit later on in the program, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with hour number 2 of the Deep Dixie Racing Report straight ahead.
See how fast it goes? Yeah. She's going to sit right here. Don't flail your arms and knock down the barefoot Merlot up here. Like I like to done just then. I get it. I'm going to knock that down for a second.
How you like my cone of salad?
Oh, yeah. How does it wind up being backwards from there?
Well, if you're actually looking at it, that's the way it's looking live.
Okay.
But I don't know why it reverses it on that studio. I can actually change it, but
okay, I mean, if people want to call in, what number are they supposed to call?
229, I'm gonna post it, 229-388-2876.
Okay, you post them to Deep Dixie or what?
I'm gonna post it on Deep Dixie, yeah.
Okay, is it okay if I post it on
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
You can post it on Deep Dixie too. 229-388-2876.
No, that didn't mess, but I don't see it.
Tell them to wait until after they get through with that segment with her though.
Okay, 8:30.
Yeah, well, I don't know how long it's gonna take, but she may want to answer calls and I mean, she may answer questions that people may have. So,
Man, chips.
just, you know what? Sometimes we have problems with the internet because of weather. I think last week was one of them. But this week I'm not having a hitch at all.
There should be
I better.
commercials like you see on TV.
Yeah, they're playing right now.
They are.
Got 3 new ones this week. I just downloaded it a while ago.
Hey, I told the guy at the tractor place that if he can get us a 30-second spot, if we would run it. Okay.
And just repeat away the whole. I need to put something on there saying we'll be right back.
I look up there and sell in town and just sit there and I just sit there and go, I know where that's at. I know where that's at. I know where that's at. I actually sat in Fruit Cove, Florida one time and sat for a day waiting on a load of melons.
Ooh.
and the air conditioner went out. Sure did.
That'd be my luck.
Sitting in the middle of a field.
They sell one from Stubbs. I love Stubbs barbecue. That's good stuff. I think they got a marinade too.
Yes, Lord, yes. Yeah, they got a bunch of stuff. They got 5 or 6 different things that they sell in the store. The place I've seen that's got the most choices on barbecue sauce and marinades, it's got to be Strickland's. They got a shelf this high all the way to that window.
Where you?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the store back there, and you go back to the restroom, it's right there on the left.
Hmm.
And you get your stuff, pork chops, and get your marinade.
Have you stopped in Carroll's yet?
Now I have, I need to. Maybe usually like any other day.
Sausage sometimes.
I want to, that's why I'm done. 5 minutes in, all the time, never fail.
Hey, I don't know what's gonna be going on that Sunday night. What time are they gonna start in Swainsboro?
That evening.
I would love to go down there. I don't know how I'm gonna work that out. I would love to go. What I might do,
We'll have a big crowd.
what I might do is I might try to meet you somewhere.
Okay.
We go together.
Is it, cold? I know they'll wind
Is
up,
everything okay with you
I
today?
think
It is, sir.
Leo
That steak is
talked
good.
about they might go tentatively. Because I told them. I said,
Cheesecake you was telling me about.
Okay, I'll get it.
They said
Uh-huh.
they're supposed to do it twice. They did, I think, this is the same race you filmed last year, wasn't it, Dale?
What's that?
Is this the race that you filmed last year or tried to? What my deal is, I'm trying to work out with the Proctor boy and the Braswell boy if we can get a lift. Is that good with you?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Get it somewhere situated. That's what I hate about the places that's got a walk out and do that.
The backstretch anywhere would be fun.
That was a heat thing
I'm putting
yesterday.
it on the backstretch.
And I've seen this house.
Wherever we
They
can
did.
move it.
How about turn 4? You know what I'm saying? That
Turn
little.
fours down there in front of that.
What was it? You get just this side of it, that parking lot thing. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be fun.
Okay.
And she
When is
That you like it.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and do that. I'll try to promise them I got.
That's on Sunday.
That's on Sunday. That's what Terry London told me. I'll let you know the more as we go. We ain't got a couple more weeks really, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
so
a show.
I'm gonna work with Matt, Mitch Carter, and Steve Brown to see if I can get the lid.
But anyway, it's.
I know I got a cookout on Friday night, so I won't be able to go anywhere Friday night. That's the only time I'm gonna be able to be with my family. But Thursday night, we'll do that Thursday night at Cochran. I'll be back up there Saturday, and I'll go over there with you on Sunday.
The biggest thing is getting
Process now. If you see that I am going to like apply for this.
I told Karen again, I said, we're gonna wind up doing that 2 days. I hate, you know,
Something like that. Then it's
I don't
from
know. I just told them, I said, y'all, we need to play around with what we're gonna do. We're gonna do the thing Thursday night, or we're gonna back it up Friday night, we're gonna back it up Saturday night. You know, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do all that? So, you know, I told her, I said, I'll give you 4 days, you know, for whatever, but it would be good to go do the Ray Cook race. Ray's a good guy. I hate not to, and Paul is too. A lot of people don't realize Paul in the situation. They got a daughter that's chronically ill.
Somebody told me that he had like built a go-kart track down there to the side of the
Oh,
world.
yeah. Oh, yeah, he did.
Wow.
He did. And I'm not talking about he didn't play around. We're not talking about a small shelter. It's not like a hay barn. I mean, everybody's under the grid. Everybody.
So the track is under a building?
No. Just the grid and all that, and out past the grid and everything. I'm actually, you don't leave the shelter but just a little bit, and you're right there on the track.
You know, I've always thought if you were gonna have a go-kart track, if you could afford to get one of those big giant, you could never ever be rained out.
Yeah. Well, that's the weird thing when you say that. You know, Red Griffin has actually talked about that. He is actually
Who's Red Griffin?
the man that runs Scriven, the man that owns Scriven. And he is talked like one day he said he's gonna put a shelter over that place.
Cool.
He said he's gonna do it. He's done everything else he said he was gonna do. Watch the Merlot over there. And watch that thing we did. That thing get 3-legged on you in a minute.
Yes, there's not a whole lot of,
Yeah.
and what I try to do is kind of
We'll hold down the John Anderson just a swinging, so you won't get in the mood and knock it out of there.
All right.
I've been on her state.
Let me,
You're gonna do fine. You're gonna do fine. You're gonna roll with it. You will
Is it all right to have my paper? What's none of it?
technical.
y'all ready?
Tell us when you're ready.
All right.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Deep Dixie Racing Report. If you're just joining us, we appreciate your support. I think we're going on about maybe 3 months of shows here every Thursday night live from the Rescues Smokehouse Grill on exit 75 right here off of Interstate 75. They're going to be open until 10 o'clock tonight, man. Great food. You got to come and check it out. Our thanks to Tyler Summerlin, young man that was in a pretty nasty crash at Albany Motor Speedway a few weeks back. He is on the mend and plans to get back into a race car, trying to hold on to a very, very good year points-wise, second in the points right now, and we appreciate him calling in. And, of course, as always, big thank you to my good friend and teammate, Brian Hester, who gives us the greatest updates and reports, man, gives us insight and information that we otherwise wouldn't have. And, of course, Dale Hall, he is the producer. He does the heavy lifting here. He's behind the camera. And right now I'm joined by a good friend of mine. We've worked together a long, long time, and she has a very, very important job when it comes to a Saturday night race or another big race, wherever it may be. Joined right now by the scorer at Cochran Motor Speedway, Miss Wendy Boston. Wendy,
There.
what's up, sis? It's good to have you with us tonight. First off, before we get into racing, I know that you and I had supper tonight. What do you think about the food here at the Rescues?
Awesome.
Is it really good?
Yes, that steak was the best.
Listen, guys, they have 2 different steaks here. One of them's a ribeye. I've only been brave enough to tackle it one time, and it just about put me in the weeds. But they've got a sirloin, and that sirloin is literally $10. And what I get is I get steak fries, I get a salad bar, and some sweet tea. And I'm gonna tell you what, man, it is on the money. And everybody that's come down here, they've had an opportunity to try it. You did tonight, and Wendy said from the beginning, said it's one of the best steaks I've ever had. But anyway, let's get right to it, Wendy. You are the scorer down at Cochran, and you've been doing scoring long enough that you have seen the transition going from what used to be literally handwritten, where you had to keep your eyes peeled. Dale is fat. What is that? Strawberry cheesecake?
It's cherry cheesecake.
Hey, put that on the camera. Let these people see that. Dale's trying to get me all messed up here. He's trying to hypnotize me with some cherry cheesecake. Anyway, that looks good. I got to have some of that. But anyway, I can remember in years past, Wendy, literally seeing you with your eyes on the start-finish line and you're riding without even looking at the page. Obviously, we've come a long way since then. And what I'd like for you to do is just take us through the process. Now, I know every track is different. One of the very first things that I do when I get to the racetrack on Saturday is, of course, I welcome everybody, and we let everybody know how much we appreciate them coming. And then I begin to remind the drivers every 5 minutes or so, please go and get signed in. Once I send the drivers to you to the sign-in window, I want you to tell us what happens from that point and how that progresses throughout the entire evening.
All right, sure. One of the first things that we have the drivers do when they show up, especially if they're a new driver, is we always like to have them fill out a driver registration form. And that just kind of gives us their information and where they live and things like that. And if they ever want to send out flyers of big events or things of that nature, we have a record of them being there. We can do that. After they fill the paperwork out the very first time, they don't have to do that again. So the process does get a little bit easier after that initial start. We do this year, we did implement the computer program to actually do the drawing. So that was a little bit new this year. And the drivers, we have a touchscreen monitor. So when the drivers come up, they get their transponder, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And I'm able to input their names into the computer system, and with a click of a button, they're able to touch, and it will automatically draw for their starting position. And that's the position number that we use to line them up for heat races. So that was a little bit different this year, and the drivers seem to really like that. As far as the transponders, we are doing the transponder system. It's by Untitled Transponders, and I use a program called Race Manager. It's a very neat system. It holds a lot of information. I can go back and pretty much manipulate the entire race and tell you exactly what's going on. But the drivers will rent their transponders. We rent those at the track. They do have the option. They can buy their own or whatever. And these are mounted on the right rear axle tubing of the car. And each one of those transponders contains its own individual signal, so that when I'm up in the tower and I'm going through the program, it's automatically picking up, their signal for that specific car.
Can you to just interrupt you, sorry to do that. As far as where that transponder is mounted, now you mentioned that it was on the right rear. Is it something that is strapped on? Is it bolted on? How does that work?
Yes, it is strapped on. It's the actual transponder is a small yellow box, and it comes inside of an orange case, and that case is zip tied to that rear axle tubing. A lot of times drivers will actually take duct tape or electrical tape and wrap it around there just to kind of hold it on there. And it does have a closure to keep the transponder in there. We have had one incident where it did pop out, but I think the latch wasn't closed.
And thus the orange pouch, so it'd be more visible to other drivers. Okay,
right.
Gotcha.
And there are blinking lights on the back. There, at times, especially on like the late model cars, you can visually see that blinking light from behind that race car. So it's pretty strapped on there, if they get it on there.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Now, if a driver comes and they're running more than one class, and we see that a lot
Yes.
at our place.
Yeah.
So the system and the procedure you just described is pretty much the same thing times two, right?
Yes, it's for all classes.
Okay. Now, once registration, or what we call registration, ends, and generally that happens about the time the driver's meeting takes place, and occasionally we'll have a late arrival, and that happens in racing, people barely making it. Once you get every driver that is signed in, they have been issued their transponder, etc. Then at that point, that's when you bring the process up to the tower. Tell us what happens from there.
Okay. Once all the drivers are into the system and they have their own transponder and they've been given their drawing number, then I will take that information. It's actually stored into a program called SpeedNet, and SpeedNet is on the web. They have access. Anyone can go into their website and pull up Copper Motor Speedway from SpeedNet Direct, and it will give you all kinds of information of the drivers that were there. So that's a pretty neat program. But once I get up to the top, to the scoring tower, the computer, I have it programmed so that it automatically makes the lineups for me. And the way we do that is the program puts all of the numbers in 1 through 99 in chronological order. And then, depending on how many cars we have, typically if we have about 18 or more, we will break that down into 3 heat races. If they're less than that, usually we can get by with 2. And it just starts from the top. That very first car will go in heat race 1, and then the next car will go in heat race 2, and so forth. Now, on the qualifying, the order that they draw for late model cars, that is the exact order that they will go out and do their qualifying laps. But SpeedNet and Race Manager work together, so whatever I do in SpeedNet, I can transfer over to Race Manager. And Race Manager is the program that actually picks up the transponders.
Very good.
That's what keeps up with your races.
Very good. If you're just tuning in to the Deep Dixie Racing Report, we appreciate you joining us tonight, and we've got a treat. Wendy Boston, one of my teammates, longtime scorer at the racetrack, she is joining us and telling us exactly how the process works. Now, Wendy, in our particular application at Cochran, our qualifying works with each late model driver, and occasionally we will have other classes to qualify. They end up with a transponder, just like you're saying. We run 2 laps, and of course the fastest lap is the lap of record. Now, a few weeks back when Bobby and Kim was there and the Southern Outlaw Super Street guys were there, I noticed that they were able to do several cars at one time. In layman's terms, just explain to us the difference between 1 car at a time versus, say, 3, or how many ever can safely be on the track.
Right. We actually have that capability in Cochrane to do that if we wanted to. Each transponder has its own signal, and so that transponder is actually assigned to that driver. Okay. And as the transponder crosses the loop, which is embedded in Cochrane, I don't know if people realize this or not, but it's actually about 2 to 3 feet right before the flag stand. So as they're crossing that loop, that data is transmitted up to the tower on the computer, and it picks up their, we can tell their lap times, we can tell, their speed and things of that nature. So it does have the capability of qualifying as many as we need to out there.
Yeah. On that note, this is a good time to discuss this. By the way, thanks for joining us. We're talking with Wendy Boston. She is the scorer at Cochrane Motor Speedway, and I've known Wendy for a long, long time. Wendy has been doing scoring for a long time. And she is very, very good at what she does. This past weekend, maybe the closest finish I've ever seen. I'm trying to think back in years past. There has been several times over the years that I've had to look over to you and say, who was it, And the way that we do things now, it pretty much eliminates any kind of mistake or judgment or I didn't see it good or whatever. We literally, in our sportsman class, by the way, I want to congratulate both Josh Taylor and David Powell. David Powell led the lion's share of the race. We had multiple restarts, and at one point, I think David was as far as being into turn 3 and was going to get the win, and then we had another spin or whatever. When we go back on that particular restart after maybe, I think, 4 or 5 times, it was a white-green start, so there was literally 1 lap to get it done. And Josh Taylor made a great run at David, and it was a battle from the start-finish line all the way back. And they literally come across. It was so close that I don't even think it would be inches plural. It would probably be 1 inch. But when the race ended, I honestly, and I was watching, I was paying attention. That's my job, was calling the race, and I mean, it was just excitement off the chain. I really didn't know who won that race, and immediately before I spoke, and I've learned to do that, I don't say anything until I look. We looked down at the computer screen, again being scored electronically, that Josh Taylor actually did get the win. It may have been that much, but he did get the win. My question, Wendy, is from a score standpoint. You watch like I do. Before we had the scoring system, that was a nightmare.
Yes, and it was all hands on deck at that point.
Exactly, exactly.
We worked together for so long that we would kind of yell at each other and say, "Hey, take a look at that." And I think the issue with that too was the fact that at the time that they did come across the loop, because that loop is 2 feet or whatever right before the flag stand, it did, he was scored with that win, and it may have been just that split second that the other one was able to get up so close. It was a photo finish too.
Yeah, absolutely incredible how that went down, and it's just one of those things that you think, I can only imagine. And by the way, I didn't get a chance to talk to Josh after the race, but I did get a chance to speak to David, and David is a great racer. He's a great gentleman, and he absolutely had no hard feelings. He was just like, man, the handle went away, and we saw him wrestle, and he did a great job of even making it that close. But that brings up the next question. If you are mounting a scoring device on your car, just simple mathematics would say the further toward the front of the car is going to give you an advantage. But we've got a rule that the transponders are supposed to be mounted the same place on the car. Now, if you take a different chassis, say a Berry Wright versus a Rocket or whatever you may have, there's always the chance that if you compared it side by side, that one of them may be setting forward a little bit more than the other. But there has been instances that, you know, racers, and this is no offense, or don't take offense, but I heard somebody say, Brian, what you laughing at? I heard somebody say one time, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But but anyway, you know, if there is an advantage to be gained, the racer's going to find it. And Wendy, how important is it to police the positioning on the location on the race car where that transponder is?
It needs to be. You know, that's something that our tech guys, you know, will check, and they'll often look. Just, you know, just make sure it's on the right rail, and that it gives everybody a fair advantage.
Right. Yeah, that is one of those things that you know, the electronic eye, the beam, the line, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't lie. And you know, of course, Saturday night, I do not think there could have been a closer finish. I don't care who it was. And there's even been times that this year that we have had not 2 cars, but 3 cars that have almost been like that. And, you know, there's always going to be somebody that will dispute, but, you know, I guess the camera, the computer doesn't lie. But then I guess the next thing, there has been times that we have been racing and nothing is perfect. This happens in qualifying sometimes, and you know, we don't want to just talk about the good and not talk about the bad. As hard as you try and as much money as you invest to try to get a system that is going to work, occasionally we still have hiccups. And what I mean by that, we may be in qualifying and a driver goes out, he lays down a really good lap. He comes back to the start-finish line, somehow it doesn't pick it up. And, you know, then the question becomes, what would that lap have been? And then on the other hand, you have guys that mess up on the first lap. They come back and it doesn't catch it. And they're like, thank God I get another shot at it. Explain to the viewers and the racers how we handle such events. If they get one, get any, how we do that.
Right. On the qualifying, if for some reason the transponder is at fault, and you know, I mean, it's electronic, they mess up. I mean, it happens. It doesn't happen often, but it does. One of the most common things that I guess I've seen just in running that system is battery life. If someone owns their transponder and it's not fully charged, at times it won't pick up. We have had an incident where the transponder was running great the entire race, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, it quit. We don't know why, but as far as the qualifying, if something like that were to happen, we will give them the benefit of the doubt. Generally, the flagman will make the car come to a complete stop, you know, and wait a certain amount of seconds, and then he will let them go again. And that just gives everybody, you know, their fair shot. Now, if the driver does mess up on the first lap and he does take that, and he does break that time is set for him as lap one. You know, we can't do that. We can't do anything about that. Now, if he wrecks prior to breaking that beam and it does not pick up, the driver does have the opportunity to turn around, go all the way back to turn 2, you know, if he wanted to, turn around and get a good running start to get his 2 laps.
Yeah, we see that often. And I mean, I have seen times, and so have you, that some of the best in the business, man, they make a mistake. And that first lap is pretty much shot. And a lot of times people that come to the track not real sure what's going on, they literally will turn around and go all the way back to turn 1 to get a full head of steam and some momentum. And I've actually seen a couple times the guys have come back and got the pole in 1 lap.
And more of your seasoned drivers, well, they've realized, hey, I can do that again. So as long as you don't break the beam, then, you know, you're doing
right. And if you're just tuning in, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Right now, I'm joined by Wendy Boston. She is our longtime scorer, I might add, at Cochran Motor Speedway. Wendy, I know that you've had an opportunity to work with several other people, and there's been times that you followed a couple series. Tell us a little bit about that, the folks you've worked with, tracks you've been, that sort of thing.
I've had a good many opportunities to go and work with other tracks. I started several years ago. I love to follow Ray Miller in his series.
Right.
I've always been fond of Ray, and we've always, put up in things when he would come to Cochran. So I've had the opportunity to go at different times, and I would hand score for Ray. And those that don't know what that is, that's riding every lap. I mean, every car on every lap.
Every race. I don't know how you do it.
And it's fun to me. But and then this past year, I had an opportunity. I had someone call out of Florida and ask me to go and learn how to run the transponder system. So I was able to go to Golden Isles a couple of weekends, and I worked with her. And I've actually been to Phoenix City, Alabama, and run the transponder system over there for a series. And I really enjoyed that. And when Chris called and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about putting the transponder system in, what do you think about running it?" I was all excited.
That I remember well. You heard me talking earlier about Elvis McCoy.
Yes.
Chris Martin and I, Dale, we were on our way to Augusta to go visit Elvis. And of course, I was fielding phone calls as a pastor. He was fielding phone calls as a construction business owner. But in between, we were talking about a lot of racing. And your name came up that day, Wendy. And I told Chris, I said, you need to get Wendy. You need to get her. So we're glad to have you back. Wendy, I know that we didn't really talk about this prior to the show, but as I was sitting here, there's been several times that something else that your family and you particularly identify with racing, and that's your sister April. For those of you that don't know, Wendy, it would have been her little sister. She was an absolute diehard race fan and did many things at Cochran. And sadly, we lost April several years ago. And each year, Cochran has an April Johnson Memorial Race, and it's always a real good time. And one of the things that really got you into the racing, the scoring part, and what fuels you to this day is the memory of your little sister. Tell us a little bit about that.
Cochran has always been our home track. That's where we've always, growing up, our parents would take us to Cochran, and we had our own little seat that we would always sit in week after week. And my sister just developed a love of racing. She wanted to, just be a part of it. And at a very young age, 13 or 14, she began writing articles for the racetrack, and that's how she got started with it. And then it kind of progressed from there, and she was asked to go up in the tower, and at the time I had already been up there just kind of playing around, helping out with those that were up there. And so we got the job of doing the scoring, and so we had 2 good years that we worked together before she passed away. And one of the things that she asked me to do, on toward the end was to make sure that we kept Cochran Motor Speedway going. And so I toughed it out, and it was a lot of fun, and kept it going for several years. And there were a couple of years in there, that I didn't work in Cochran, and I had the opportunity to work in for 41 for Mr. David Williams, and that was a great experience. But I'm very glad to be back in Cochran.
Yeah, I think it's where you belong. And again, those of you that are just tuning in, we're talking about the scoring aspect of racing. And Wendy Boston is our scorer down at Cochran Motor Speedway. And, Wendy, in just a minute, Dale said that we have the capabilities. By the way, this will be the first time that we've tried this. We're going to have the opportunity to take a few phone calls for anybody that would like to be able to tune in. And Dale, I don't know, are you posting a number on the screen or whatever?
It's up there right now.
Okay, it's up there now. And but while we're waiting on that, and we'll get to the calls in just a minute, I'm just curious, going from handwritten to what you're doing now, in your own words, how much better, how much easier is that really? How much money do you save with pencils?
It's wonderful. Yeah. There's certain parts of it I miss. I miss just being so in tune with the cars. I mean, because I honestly never took my eyes off the track. I mean, I constantly had to watch as they were coming by. But it's been very neat to kind of sit back and watch the computer, make sure the transponders are running the way they're supposed to be, and being able to watch the race and actually get into it.
Yeah.
So I was so focused on the flag stand for so long.
Yeah.
Now I get to watch.
Exactly. Exactly.
But one of the things I did want to mention before we turn it over to the phones is the race monitor app.
Yes.
That was something that we started doing this year, and because we have the transponders and we do the race manager and things like that, race monitor is an app that people can go to their phones or tablets, whatever, and download. And they have the capabilities of, as we are qualifying on the track, they can actually see the times pop up on their phones. And also during the races, it will tell you, when we're green flag racing, when we're under a yellow, when the racing is finished. It's a pretty neat app, and it's very minimal cost. I mean, it's like a yearly subscription. It's not very much, but that's neat that they're able to view live time.
Right. Now, I'm guessing that's a fairly new app. So if somebody that's watching tonight, say they would want to keep up with what's going on at Cochran this coming weekend,
Right.
Where do they go? How do they get there? What do they do when they get there?
Typically, you can go to your Play Store, your app settings on your phone, and download the Race Monitor app. It's just called Race Monitor. And once they download that, like I said, there's a nominal fee.
I think someone told, I was going to say $4.99. Yeah. And that's for the year, and that'll get you in anybody that has the.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty good, guys. For about $5 or less, you literally, if they're racing in Iowa or Texas or Georgia, anybody that has a compatible setup, you'll be able to follow along for less than about $5. That's pretty cool.
So, and because of right now, our track doesn't. It has the capabilities, but we're not there yet to post the times as the drivers are coming by. They can watch it on their phone and they'll actually see it. So that's pretty neat.
The first person that comes to my mind when I think of that Ronnie McGahey, who was our track photographer. Ronnie and his beautiful wife, they moved out west, I think, to Kansas, and they've been back to Cochran several times. And when you have a connection like Ronnie did, just being able to just pick up your phone and just see the simplest, a green flag or whatever, it makes you feel like on some level that you're there. But Dale, do we have anybody that has called in just yet? Real quick, let me just go ahead and say once again a big thank you to our sponsors here at the Deep Dixie Racing Report, Mr. Mike Hurd and the award-winning staff of 5-Star Hyundai up in Warner Robins, Georgia. You're looking for a new vehicle, maybe you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, they've got you covered. They have award-winning service staff up there. Just this year, 869 dealerships. They were #1 in the whole country in service. They continually are on top of the chart regionally and nationally. They service all makes and models. I take my vehicle over there, and Mike and the staff do a great job. We also want to thank Bill Cheek and our friends at Heartland EMS. They are the first responders at our racetrack, and I'll tell you what, man, those record or the ambulance drivers, they've had a workout this year.
They really have.
Thankfully, we've not had any serious injuries, but I think at this point in the season, mid-June, I've seen more flips than I've seen in a long, long time. And Bill Cheek, he is a president of Heartland EMS. Bill's not the kind of guy to run his accolades and accomplishments up the flagpole, but he has been awarded Director of the Year. He is very much a part of our community, and out of the goodness of his heart, they have helped out with the Deep Dixie Racing Report. And we want to say thank you to Mike Hurd, our friends at 5-Star, and Bill Cheek and Heartland EMS. And also, guys, I have no hesitation and absolutely any reason to hesitate when I tell you this. This restaurant that we broadcast from, the name of it is the Rescue Smokehouse Grill. It got its name because Raymond was a first responder, being a fireman, and his partner, I believe, was a fireman and maybe an EMT. If I've got that wrong, I've not got it wrong enough to matter. But they thought up the name of their business as Rescue's Smokehouse Grill. And when you come into the door of this place, you're going to see a real laid back place that it looks like a barbecue restaurant. I mean, this could not have been a better location to do this show. It's perfect. And Raymond and his family and his partners, his daughters are actually working here tonight. They take real good care of you. They've got so much on the menu. I've eaten the barbecue, I've eaten the steak, and I got to say, I'm probably partial to that steak, man. I went to Burger King today, and I know I need to eat better, but when you're a pastor, you got to get it while you can, right? I paid $8.49 for whatever I got. It was Wendy's. That's where I went, Wendy's. And anyway, for $9.99, you can get a steak and a couple fixings. And I'm not talking about some raggedy old steak. I'm talking about something good. And they've got a salad bar here. They've got fries. They've got all kinds of specialty stuff. My good buddy, Double Barrel Dale Hall, he just got done pounding some cherry cheesecake and got me wanting some of that. But I know, Dale, what you doing, man?
It was a small bowl.
A small bowl.
Probably looked big.
Okay. Well, whatever you like to eat. Maybe you love barbecue, but you got a child that don't care for barbecue or whatever. They got pizza, they got hamburgers, they got anything you could want. And it's very affordable. It's delicious. And Raymond, how long ago has it been since y'all won that $50,000 prize? When was that?
2014.
2014. You talking about serious now. These people won $50,000 in a barbecue competition. And just recently, I think y'all were in Rome. Was that right? Where you won that last award?
Yeah.
Rome. And they took first place in another division. And there's a channel called Destination America. And they were on TV. I've actually saw a couple of spots that they had it. But anyway, the place is open until
The new one airs tonight at 10.
the what? The new one airs tonight at 10? Okay. Destination America. If you can get that on your satellite or dish or however you get it, 10 o'clock tonight. And the name of the show is what?
Pitmasters All Stars.
Pit Masters All Stars. And you're going to be able to see Raymond and his partners and their team cooking. And they're open till 10 o'clock tonight. If you're coming down the highway or whatever and you've heard about it, come on in, check us out. If you're watching at home, if you have been thinking about coming, you don't have to be dressed up. If you're dressed up, that's fine, but don't feel like you got to have, church clothes on to come eat. Come on in here, open till 10 o'clock. Good food, good people to serve you, and just a great atmosphere. Wendy, one other thing that I was wanting to talk to you about this story. I've always wondered, when we are in the heat of the battle, we're racing, because I have done it so long, you've done it so long, every now and then you will see a car that will go over the hill in turn one, and they kind of get in the shadows at that point. And while you're watching this fierce battle in turn three, suddenly you've got a car that's a little further back in the pack, something lets go in the motor, a tire goes down, whatever, and it's almost like they disappear from the track. And I will holler out to you sometimes when I see it, okay, car number 8 left the track or whatever. When you have cars that leave, say maybe 2 or 3 cars, and it has happened, that leave the track on the same lap, and yet you're watching your scoring, how do you do that? I mean, without getting so messed up, how do you do that?
Typically, what we try to do is, and it helps to have other spotters watching too, is we will write down as they go in. If they were to go into the pits, we write those car numbers down as they go in. And, whoever goes in first, they would be, further down on your, especially if they don't come back out, they would be further down on your pace sheet. And then, whoever went out next would be right on top of them. Now, one of the things that I did want to point out too, and maybe we need to come back to this, was the previously scored lap. You and I talked about that before.
Yes,
That's something
absolutely.
I wanted to address. But anyway, as far as your question, that's how we typically keep up with it. And there have been occasions, even there was one just a couple of weeks ago, as a matter of fact, the transponders pick up how those cars were running on that last lap as they took that signal going across. So when I printed the pace sheet, there was a situation where the guy was actually out further. I mean, he was out longer than the one that had already gone in. It's kind of redundant, but we had to go back and fix, or remedy that situation, because that was something that we realized after the fact. He was running another couple of laps past the one that had already gone in.
And you can get messed up so easy. And like pure stock, this week, pure stock, we started out, I think, with 12, 14 cars. I'm not sure. And literally, there was more attrition in that race than I've seen in a long time. So, okay, so now you get a car that something happens on lap number 4. They go to the pits between lap 4 and lap 10. There's like 7 cars that get knocked out of the race. So these people are looking and saying like, oh, we're not even halfway through, and there's only 4 cars out there. We could actually go out and just run a couple laps. And so how does that work? Once that guy goes into the pits and he comes back, he's 6 laps down or whatever. Once he hits the track, the transponder begins to pick him up again.
The transponder automatically keeps up with the number of laps that car has crossed the loop. And so we are able to, I have the capability at the end of that race to actually print the entire race.
Yes.
So I could go back and reconstruct that race. And that's what happened with the situation a couple weeks ago. I was able to go back into the program and go back to that caution. And I could see, when the driver said, hey, I was out there a couple of laps longer than this other car, I was able to go back and look and say, you know what, yes, you were. And mistakes happen, and I hate that it does that, but according to when you finalize your finishing order, the transponders are only going to pick up in the order that they have.
Exactly.
So
Saturday night in the pure stock division, if you were on the track, I don't care if you were 10 laps down, if you were on the track, you were going to get a good paycheck because we had run out of cars. Now listen, this right here is probably the most, I would say, confusing and people get upset about it. We have a driver that is battling for the lead, and he may work that leader for 3-4 laps, and then finally he gets a good run off of 2. He'll edge him into turn 3, and he'll come back to the stripe, and then all of a sudden the caution comes out before they get back to the start-finish line. Okay, under caution, what we do, we move the leader that may have gotten past back out front, and when you do that, it never fails. You look down in the stands and people are throwing up their hands, screaming, what are you doing? And the rule is this, and I want you to explain it to us, Wendy. We revert back to the last, and the key word here is completed. Completed green flag lap. And we saw that in the sportsman race. Josh Taylor got by David several times.
But because of
we didn't complete exactly the last completed green flag lap. And so from a score standpoint, I know it's just a matter of principle here, but explain to us exactly how that works.
Well, and it all depends on how many cars you have come under the flag stand, or in our case, comes across the loop before that caution flag comes out. If, for example, you've only got one car that's crossed and he throws the caution, then of course we're not going to keep that lap. Now, if over half the field has already crossed that and we decide to keep the lap, then we would keep the field as they come across. I mean, you would have to go in and whoever was charged with that caution, of course, would go to the rear. But the rest of them would actually keep their spot. But if we ever refer to, we are going back to the last previously scored green flag lap, that's what we mean. We have to back up and do that because we're not racing back to the caution. We're not racing back to the flag stand under caution.
Got a question. Somebody wants to know, have you ever had a tie?
Not with this system. Now, in years past, I'm sure that we have.
In the case, that's a good question.
Yes.
I personally have never, ever been a part of a race where there's been a tie. But if there was a tie, what would be the tiebreaker? Whoever run in a further, a better position for more laps, I'm guessing?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
We actually had a case in Albany, I believe it was last year, where 2 drivers crossed the finish line at the same time.
Right.
And there was no conclusive evidence of who had won. I actually was on the opposite side in the other flag stand. They've got two there. And I took a picture as they were crossing, and they used that to judge, and they declared it a tie.
Wow.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I don't know
That was
who
Travis
that.
Williams and Alan Flournoy, I believe.
Right.
If there would have ever been a time that would have been applicable, it would have been Saturday night, because I'm telling you.
And I did go back and look. I remember right after the race, Scott and I were up there talking, and he said, "If you don't mind, will you print that finish order for me?" You know, in the last, I think it was the last couple of laps or whatever that they run. And so I was able to go back in. And one good thing about the iDeck, it's a blue box that sits up there, and that decoder actually records every pass on the loop. Like I said, you know, I can go back and reconstruct it, but I was actually looking at that, and I mean, it was within, I can't remember if it was 100 or 1,000 difference in those two cars. I mean, it was just very minimal.
And how do you measure 1,000th of a second? I mean, as far as geographically, how do you measure it? I don't know how to do that. I'm not that smart anyway. But when you think about scoring and you think about what is on the line, I hope that by Wendy being here with us tonight, the electronic part has taken almost all of the guesswork out of it. However, there are still going to be times that like anything, something's not going to work or whatever. But real good thing for you to do, guys. And I think that a lot of tracks would probably, if you're not already doing it, if we go back to that location of that transponder, we have had so many close finishes this year. And I know other tracks have great racing and close finishes. And if you happen to put that transponder even a foot further up ahead or whatever, then obviously you're gonna have an advantage. And so very critical that thing, because once that thing crosses, that is what is going to trigger the beam. And I mean, when you're talking about thousandths of a second, I mean, literally, it's almost so close you can't measure it. Yes.
Another question: do you have a backup plan in case the system goes down?
Yes, I do hand score a lot of the laps. If I see that something is going on that, you know, maybe it's not picking up one of the transponders, I do hand score. I have sheets ready and a pencil in hand, and I will typically go ahead and, especially the last, you know, 4 or 5 laps, I do automatically write it down just so that we do have a backup in place. And one of the things that I did want to mention, you know, if there's ever a discrepancy or the driver feels like that, you know, hey, just like the other night, you know, I think I really should be ahead of this other guy, come and talk to us. I mean, I will pull up, and the one thing about the iPad is it records all that data. So I can go back and pull that up, and we'll take a look at it. I am not above doing that, and I think that's an awesome way of going back and keeping track.
Yeah, and you know, that's a good time to say this. Racing is a high adrenaline, high emotion sport, and you cannot help but to be hyped up. But guys, I can tell you, just by being on the other side of this in the tower, first of all, there's nobody against you. We want everybody to have a good race and a level playing field. But how you approach things makes all the difference in the world. If you approach and you've got a question, nobody's asking you to be inferior or anything like that, but just be reasonable. And if you've got a question, then there is an answer. And so just remember that, even if and there's a lot of times that a driver's right.
Yeah.
And there's things that happen, and it's all about how you approach it.
And we want to make that right.
Yes.
Another question we got, someone wants to know, how do they train to be a scorer? Is there a process, or how do they go about it? I was trained by 2 different people, actually. At the time, we had someone who had been doing it for years just come in and actually trained me. And I've done a lot of online looking just to see how other tracks do theirs and different, you know, especially for the rules and stuff like that. But I've never found really a training course on how to do that. It's just kind of a learned art.
Right.
Yes.
Wendy, in the event of a rain delay, in the event of, say, I know a year ago, Memorial Day, we had a huge crowd at Cochran, and right in the middle of the first feature, I think we got something like 6 laps in, and the rain came. I mean, it was raining sideways so hard it was coming in through the cracks of the windows. And I think what we did was we picked up on that race. As far as scoring or anything like that, suppose we get a bad storm and the lights get knocked out or something like that. Once we restore power, though it may be a flipping a breaker or the power comes back on, does the scoring system, does it save the information?
Yes, it does. And that was one of my first questions, because I mean, honestly, I was very leery of the system until we started running it. I was able to learn more about it. The iDeck, the little blue box, it holds massive amounts of information. And it's, you know, at the end of the night, I save all of the files. So even now, I can go back and pull up several weeks ago the races that, you know, I have the ability to go back and reconstruct those races. But yes, it does hold. Even if the power goes out, if the computer crashes, it will maintain that information until we hook it up to another computer system, and then it'll pick it up. So.
Yeah. A lot of times people are well, the old saying is, you know, folks are opposed to change, and they like doing it the same way. I can tell you this is very, very much a blessing. When it comes to late model qualifying, as a matter of fact, the way we do it, the way our setup is at Cochran now, it wasn't like this for years. We know that, Wendy. We basically was up on a shed that was on 4 poles, and you're lucky if you made it up the steps. That's right. And when it was hot, it was hot. When it was cold, it was cold. But the way things are set up, we have a couple of suites on either side of the tower. There's a big VIP area on one end. There's another one on the other end. And then Wendy and our race director, Scott Sumner, several other people who are helping to watch and that sort of thing, where all the race receiver conversation goes on, that sort of thing. They're in a room, and there is a window and a wall that separates us. I have a broadcasting room that's probably, 8 by 8, something like that. And by the way, if you ever get a chance to come up and look, you're welcome to come and see where I broadcast from. Wendy sees it all the time. We're probably not much farther apart than we are right now. And there's a glass that separates us. When it comes to late model qualifying, literally Wendy sets a computer up and puts the screen up to the window. And as each driver is making their laps, it is telling me their exact time. Used to be, you had to wait on somebody to call out a number, and then occasionally something would happen with the score loop. But now, literally, you can see. That's right.
Now, you know, it's
if you've got 8 drivers that come out and they're within, you know, 0.2 of a second from the fastest to the slowest, you can literally look at that, and it can tell you. And you know, even the drivers that have a mishap, like we talked about spinning on lap 1, coming back on lap 2. We've literally had guys that spin and they get a 48-second lap, come back, and then they win the pole. It's pretty incredible. If you guys ever got to see what happens on the other side of the tower, it's a whole different world. It really is. Yeah, Dale, you got another one?
No, I was just laughing at one of the comments, and I think Kevin must be your husband.
What Kevin got to say? What's up, Kevin?
What is? What's he saying?
She's smoking hot.
You go, Wendy. You go, Wendy.
I love it.
That's awesome, Kevin. Wendy, I know that outside of the racetrack, tell people what you do for a living.
I'm a teacher.
What grade do you
I
teach?
teach 2nd grade.
2nd grade teacher, man.
I love it.
Yeah.
I do. I'm in Lawrence County at Northwest Lawrence Elementary School, and that's my day job. But I love to be racing on the weekend.
Yeah, I tell you, man.
That's my favorite.
I want to say this, Dale. We're down to about 5 minutes to go, so I think we're getting ready to shut it down. Again, thank you for tuning in to the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Pastor Todd Sharon, I'm the announcer at Cochran Motor Speedway. I'm your host, and honored to be the host. Dale and the guys and gals, they could have picked anybody, and they picked me, and I really appreciate it. I like doing this show. And, of course, Brian Hester, he works with us. Brian's over there, just got done polishing off a big steak. and Dale Hall, the producer, Carol and Leo Johnson, also very much part of the team. And Leo has had an absolute explosion in his work lately, and getting it while the getting's good. But we're glad that you tuned in to watch us tonight. This show's been a little bit different. Our thanks to Tyler Summerlin that called in, talked to us about everything that happened to him in that crash. He don't have a whole lot of memory of it, but he is planning on coming back and racing this weekend, the Lord willing. And then we kind of shifted our thoughts. We've been talking to Wendy Boston. She is our scorer down at Cochran, and she's had an opportunity to score at some really big races, really big racetracks, historic racetracks. And, you know, over the years, every friendship has its ups and downs, and things happen and that sort of thing. But I want to tell you, Wendy, it is so good to have you back. I'm serious. You know, Wendy and I have known each other for a long time, and you know, life twists and turns. You go this way, you go that way, but as life would have it, and as God's will has had it, it's brought us right back together. And to be doing this show 80 miles from Cochran on a Thursday night, I don't know about you, but that's pretty cool. I'm glad that you came. And Kevin, if you're watching, to Wendy's children, Morgan and Camden, two beautiful kids that are great kids. And you know, thank you for allowing Wendy to come down. I know that she's really busy, and I know for her to make the trip down here that you guys had to get your supper together and all that tonight, but we do appreciate it. And Wendy, is there any final comments or anything you want to share with us? We're about to shut it down, but
not that I know of. Just, you know, like I said, if there's ever a question, just come and ask. I mean, I want to show the system off. I mean, I think it's awesome, and I really appreciate Chris Martin investing in it. I think it's an awesome way to do things, and you know, seeing both sides of it, coming from scoring for 14, 15 years now, by hand, and now doing it this way, it's pretty awesome. And I think it's really neat. We've got a good thing going at Cochran.
Yeah, we really do. And like I said earlier, guys, it's all about how you approach something. I have seen these people. I'm up there with them, and I have seen these people. And if somebody comes in and they have a question, these guys will move heaven and earth to answer your question. And it may not be the answer you want, but we respect you enough. We're going to give you every bit of information, facts, and everything we can give you. But if somebody comes up and they're screaming, cussing, and acting the fool and all of that, I can tell you right now, and it's pretty much true for any racetrack, we don't have time to deal with that. If you've got a question, and we understand people get upset, we understand that people get you know, highly emotional racing. It's part of it. But if you've got a question, just let us know. And I promise you, if something's wrong, we'll fix it.
Yeah, and it's tough, you know, in the middle of a race too. Just, you know, if you wait to the end and let us get finished, especially if it's not something that's got to be right
exactly. So. And you know, it takes all of us to do it. It is incredible. I really do wish that we could have every person that is a race fan. If you could just set up in the tower one night, and just see what goes on, just from the announcing standpoint, it never stops, guys. I mean, I'm glad to do. I've got the best gig in racing. I really do. I have got the best. I work for the best people. I work with the best people at the nicest facility, and but it never ends. I mean, from driver interviews to calling the race, to selling the food, thanking the sponsors, happy birthdays, happy anniversaries, somebody lost their keys, their phone, or whatever, and these scores are the same way. If we are able to choke down a hamburger, we're lucky, aren't we? And so I can tell you there's a whole lot that goes on behind the scenes, and I want to say thank you to everybody out there that does what you do. I mean, working in the kitchen, taking up the tickets, working on the racetrack, I mean, whatever your job is, lining up cars, working in the tech, selling fuel, tires, scoring, race directors, announcers, flagging, whatever. If I'm leaving somebody out, I apologize, but it takes all of us to do it. And I hope that you learned something tonight in the scoring. Everything has pretty much gotten to be pretty much foolproof. and we can give you an answer quicker and more factual now than we've ever been able to in the history of racing. So, Wendy, I think that we on the White Flag Lap, and again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Join us next week. We're going to be recapping a lot of racing action that happens this week, and we are getting very close to some big, enormously big paydays in our area here. We're going to be talking to some other people, track owners. And again, Lord willing, if everything works out, we're going to be broadcasting live the Deep Dixie Racing Report from Cochran Motor Speedway on practice night for the second annual Georgia Showdown. We decided that we wanted to try that in hopes to be able to get a lot more drivers. Going to be a lot of them there. Maybe even give you a little bit of footage of practice and let you see what's going on that Thursday night. We were hoping to have Flagman and another announcer with us tonight. We'll see if that'll work out for next week. But as we sign off, again, thanks, Brian. Good job as always, Tyler Summerlin. And Wendy, thank you for coming to join us. Same way that we start, we're going to wrap it up. And we are going to ask the Lord to just keep everybody safe. Again, I am overjoyed that Elvis McCoy is doing better. Brother Elvis, man, God bless you. And to Donna and all of you, God bless you. I know that that's been a long journey. And Bubba, how, you know, Bubba is right down there from your neck of the woods, man. And from every report I get, you know, that could have been a tragic thing. And so we hope that he gets well real soon. And so wherever you're at, take a minute and pause with us as we dismiss in prayer. Father, we come to you again in the name of Jesus. Thank you for a chance to do this. It's been a fun night. Thank you, Lord, for the guests that joined us, either by phone or those that drove down to be with us. And we just pray that you'll give us a safe trip back to our homes when we're done tonight. Lord, we pray for Bubba Howe. I ask that you help his broken ankle to heal fully and quickly, and whatever injuries he had in his back, Lord, just let him get back to full strength real soon. We thank you for Elvis McCoy, Lord. Thank you, Lord, that he is going to be able to come to his home real soon. We thank you for that. And Lord, anybody else that's sick or recovering from injuries or surgery or whatever, you know who they are. We pray for them as well. And as we get ready to go racing, a lot of people start tomorrow night. We ask that you keep all of our drivers safe. We ask that you keep the crew members and all the track workers that are close to the action, keep them safe. Give everybody safe travels to and from wherever they race. And Lord, let us just remember that the greatest gift of all is your son, Jesus, that you sent to die on the cross for our sin. And long after racing has come and gone, Lord, eternity and our souls and salvation is the greatest gift, the greatest treasure that we have. And Lord, use this show to touch somebody's heart, maybe somebody that may be watching. Just let them take a look at their soul, and if they're not saved, let them give their life to you. We thank you for another chance to do it. Bring our servicemen and women home soon. Bless their families as they wait for them. And Lord, we just give you all the praise and all the thanks for letting us do this. In Jesus' name I pray. All right, folks, that's going to do it for another great night of discussion here at the Rescue Smokehouse Grill. Again, Pastor Todd Sharon, your host, along with Brian, Hester, Dale Hall, and my little sister, Wendy Boston, coming down here to break it down scoring-wise. Thank you, Raymond and Amy, for letting us come. Thank you, Mike Kerr, Bill Cheek, 5-Star Honda, and Heartland EMS. Don't forget, we'll be coming back at you next Thursday night, 7 o'clock live. Tune in. We'll see you next time. God bless.